Now, let us look at the introduction of a research paper. An introduction is basically the first sections of your research paper after the abstracts. It will be the initial part of the main body of the technical writing. And introductions provide the background knowledge or short review of the relevant literature. It prepares the understanding of the reader so that they are able to comprehend better the content which are later given in the research paper. It also provides an overview in terms of the state of the art, giving the readers an idea what is already existingly known within the field of study. The introductions also tells the reader what the paper is about. It is so that the readers is prepared for it and aware of the focus of your paper. It also explains why it is important and worth reading. This is to trigger the interest of the readers. Some may not see the significance of your study. Therefore, you will need to enlighten them regarding the worthiness of reading your paper. Other than that, you know that every research has their own limitation. In order to explicitly identify the effects of certain parameters, normally the actual scenario or actual situations, which is rather complex, are being simplified into a testable study so that it is manageable by the researcher. Strictly speaking, there will be differences between the actual scenario than those being studied in your research. And you know that your entire paper will concentrate on the study and test conducted with the purpose to explain an actual scenario. You are studying a test, trying to explain a scenario. Normally, there will be a gap between the actual scenario and the test conducted. Therefore, you should make clear to the reader the correlation between the two. You will need to explain how you convert the actual situations to the testable study, as the reader might not be able to correlate the two. Also, the introduction section will guide the reader what to expect from your research or from your technical writing. This is to prevent them putting their emphasis and attentions on the area which you intend it to be. What you see here, the components of the introduction, they are on basis of these purposes. First is to imply the importance and worth reading of your research paper. You would like to trigger the interest of the reader, guide the readers to the area you intend to emphasize, state the purpose of the paper, as well as establish basic understanding or definitions of some terminologies. Ultimately, the introduction is a preparation to the reader for them to better comprehend the content and the message of your entire research study. You would like your reader to be fully engaged and not to misunderstanding whichever you state. Therefore, you should write your introductions towards that purposes. Next, let us look into the details in terms of the components of the introduction. There will be three main components of an introduction. First is to establish key ideas and findings of the research literature, or to establish the real-world context relevant to your research topic. The second part, it will be portray a research problem of uncertainty. And the third one, it will be announce how you will specifically address the research problem. Now let us look at the first component, which you need to establish the key ideas and findings related to your research topic and how it is relevant and related to the real-world situations. This is how you can do it. You can indicate the importance or the recency of relevant literature. This includes presenting the relevant literature and indicate how those impact the understanding regarding the research topic. You may also indicate the claim based on the research, such as the finding given by different authors. This shall involve citing and reviewing the research study carried out by the other researcher, and also provide and establish basic knowledge and fundamentals related to your research topic. Also, you may need to provide definitions for the terms and constructs in your research, which are not frequently used. For example, you come up with a new design or a new product. It may also be a new methods of study, which yet to have a proper naming that is commonly agreed across the academic community. Under such circumstances, you might need to create some new terminologies, and you have to provide clear definitions of this. You don't have to have all these subcomponents fulfilled in your introduction. As long as you fulfill the purpose of establishing the key ideas and findings, it is okay already. These are a few methods which you can consider. And there is a short note here indicating how frequent they are being used by the academic community. Star 2 represent, it is quite popularly used. Star 1 represent, it is frequently used. And star 0 represent, it is rarely being used. At least you have an idea how you can achieve this component. The second component is about the research problem. You need to tell the readers what is the problems that your research intends to address. Sometimes you need to argue the way along in order to persuade the readers. This is how you can portray a research problem. Argue for a real-world problem or need. Argue that no research was conducted on your topic. Argue that scant research was conducted on your topic. The meaning of scant is the relevant research is barely sufficient, which you can contribute more to enrich it. Again, you don't have to have all these subcomponents fulfilled. You will need to have at least one of the following. You may choose to argue for the real-world problem and at the same time provide argument on whether the topic has been adequately studied by the research community. Next, it will be announcing how you specifically address the research problem. You may have any two of the followings or more than that. These are the subcomponents related to how you're going to address your research problem, which you will need to state the purpose of your research, describe the theoretical or real-world contributions of your research, state the research questions or hypotheses of your research, summarize your research design or method of your research, state the key finding of your research, indicate the scope of parameters of your research, state the significance or value of your research, and outline the structures of all the sections after the introductions. Some of these subcomponents are more popularly used, while some others are quite rare. You may choose it wisely, and normally there is a reason why these two components are not popularly used in order to address your research problem. The main reason is these two will be more appropriately and in details being discussed in the other section of your research article. Normally, I will not put these two at this part of introduction in order to prevent repetitions and redundancy. Same goes to the significance or value of your research, which should be more impactful if you present it in the conclusion. Having these components being outlined, at least you have a clear idea what are the main things that they are looking for your introduction. Remember to write your introductions in the concise manner, supported by facts and figures, present it in the professional manner, and structure it well in the text. A good introduction will draw the attention of the reader, as well as draw the attention to the reader to the area you intended to.